Hello, I'm Grim, and welcome back to Build Request. Well, after the two rather mechanically complicated builds I've just done of the AT-AT and the Scarab, I figured that now was time to do a rather more simplistic, aesthetically focused one, and with the upcoming release of the new live-action series, I figured it was finally time to honour Hitachi123's request of building the Bebop from Cowboy Bebop. I had to use quite a few reference pictures for this build because, despite being the namesake of the show, I've never really considered the Bebop itself to be much of an iconic design. I mean, I've watched both the show and the movie multiple times, but were you to ask me to draw the Bebop from memory, unlike drawing the Battlestar Galactica or an Imperial Star Destroyer for instance, I would instantly run into issues. And rewatching the show, I think this might be because it's often shown pretty heavily in shadows or at a 3/4 angle, looking rather distorted and somewhat extenuated. It looks great on the screen, but when it comes to trying to build a vehicle based off of those images, it's somewhat difficult. However, fortunately, Cowboy Bebop is one of the most popular animes ever made, and so mock-up designs, replica models, and toys have been made and extensively photographed online, and so there's no shortage of images for those. As I do for most of these large-scale replica builds, I first started by trying to get the overall shape or silhouette of the vehicle right before moving down to the more nitty-gritty details. After all, when it comes down to it, it's kind of more important to make sure that you can get the entire vehicle on the screen, rather than making sure you can get something like the antenna perfectly correct. However, once the overall shape was mostly there, I painted the whole thing orange and got to working on the more finer details. I put a fair bit of work into getting the engines and the vertical wing design looking right, and I think they look pretty darn good, and then realised that the top side of the vehicle narrowed into 1 point rather than 2, and so reworked that, getting it pretty accurate also. Like most of my replicas of large-scale spaceships, I put pretty much zero effort into the functionality of it, because I've built so very many of them that it's just second nature to me now, but like the previous ones, it's just using the hovercraft technique, which I've explained in a Builder's Guide to Nuts and Bolts video, so if you're not familiar with it, check out that video and it makes it rather clear. And then it was just a few very minor extra details, like replacing a block with a panel to make the hangar bay more clear, and with that, it was basically done. And so there you have it, the Starship Bebop from Cowboy Bebop in Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Since making the build and recording the audio for this video, I've started rewatching the show again in preparation for the new live-action one, and I did notice that if I were to make any major changes, it would be to the front of the vehicle, which doesn't look quite bulbous enough. It looks a bit too streamlined and Naboo-like in this vehicle, whereas in the show it's a bit more whale-like, so if I was to change anything it would be to bulk up that front by maybe one more block on either side, but either way, it looks not bad. And so if you want the vehicle in your own save and want to fix that issue yourself, then feel free to copy the layer by layer that's going to follow now as always, and until next time, thanks for watching. I have been and still am Grim Grindle. If you would like to follow me on social media or join the Channel Grim and Grin Discord, the Echo Chamber, links to both of those are in the description below.